everyone. We're going to put an image up here and kick it back one. There we go. I want to thank everyone for coming. My name's Keith Berr. I'm a commercial and fine art photographer from Cleveland in the United States. And we're doing something a little special here today. First off, I want to thank you and everybody that's come here today. And this is an amazing team that's here at Exposure, and I've never seen anything quite like it. Been to the New York shows, been to the shows in Germany and such, and there's something that's been choreographed here that I think is extremely special. What I'm going to be talking about today is myself, first off. I'm normally a commercial photographer, and I deal in advertising. So it's everything from photographing surgeons at the Cleveland Clinic and working with guys in steel mills pouring steel, to McDonald's hamburgers and such for their advertising campaigns, to their TV commercials. It's a lot of fun doing what I do. But there are other things that need to be done, and those are my paying jobs. What needs to be done is for photographers to realize that we have a power. It's something that we can do by getting out our messages. So I try to find it myself on a yearly basis to find a specific thing that I want to talk to people about. It's a pro bono project, meaning I'm not going to get paid for it. It's where I'm going to devote my time, have a message that I want to get out there, and focus on something, trying to give back to society in some fashion or form or another. Now, 8 years ago, I discovered through a friend of mine the Bonneville Salt Flats, and what you're seeing up on the screen here is an image from the Bonneville Salt Flats. It's my pro bono project, and it's been going on for a good bit of time. The Bonneville Salt Flats is an endangered space. It means that the salt has been removed and a lot of other chemistry that comes with it. In August, there's an event called Speed Week, and this is part of Speed Week here, where people from all around the world bring their vehicles to run as fast as they possibly can. There's no prizes, there's no trophies. It's only the honor of having a piece of paper in your hand and knowing that you have set a record. The people that come out here are family. You'll have motorcyclists, you'll have car people, you'll have people that build it in their little shops, and they bring it out here and they challenge themselves, and it's a camaraderie of friendship out there. It's something really important not to be lost. But in making money, there's been a company for a number of years called Intrepid, and this company, when the salt flats flood, there's water on the salt. And the chemistry dissolves in that water, and then it's removed by this company, Intrepid, and they take off the slurry and they pull the chemistry out. And the chemistry that they're looking for is potash. Everything else is garbage to them, so they just dispose of it elsewhere. It's gone. And with that chemistry being gone, the salt flats have gone from 7 foot in thickness down to 1, 2, and 3 inches in places. We're talking 100,000 acres of salt that has been reduced to 30,000 acres. 60 miles pulled in. We used to have 13-mile tracks there. Now we're down to only 8 miles at the very longest to run our cars and such. So it's shrinking, and it's being disrupted in such a way that it's not just global warming, but it's man that is actually destroying it. So what we've devoted ourselves to now is to try and change this, to remedy it, to try and solve the situation. Now, this is part of Speed Week. This happens in every August on the Salt Flats. This is where, again, where the cars and people from around the world come in and enjoy the place and set land speed records that can't be achieved anywhere else. We've hired engineers and such to come in so that we have reports to give to our government to show what's happening on the salt and to present remedies of what we can do, how we can help change what's happening on the salt. So these are images that I'm putting up here now of actual drilling on the salt. What we're finding underneath the core, we've got just a small little bit of salt crust here, and half an inch down you see the murky mud there. It's very disturbing, and it's going to be gone. It won't be there for our children to see or to enjoy in the future unless we do something now, and that's what I am trying to do. My friend that you're seeing on the screen now, his name is Gunther Meyer. He first brought me to the Bonneville Salt Flats. That was about 8 years ago. He had this little board bike, and anybody can go out there and bring a vehicle and have some fun with it. He had this little board bike that was able to do maybe 30, 35 miles an hour. He changed the way that bike was configured, so this is a certain classification, changed the way the bike was configured, and turned it into a bike that was doing 75 miles an hour. He blew away the speed record on that motorcycle. It was a lot of fun. The thing with doing something like this is you have to take one pass. So you make a run out, and you're timed, and you get a little piece of paper in your hand. The next day, you get 4 hours basically to look at your motorcycle or your car or whatever and make sure that everything's okay, work on it and get it ready to run again, and then you run again. You get another piece of paper. They average the 2 speeds that you've had, and that is your record. That's what you get. That's all you get, that little piece of paper. Pretty cool. It's my friend Gunther out there with Jill Shannon, one of the officials. She's a great lady. She's out there. Everybody volunteers on the salt. This is an image that we took of Gunther. It's one of the first parts of the Save the Salt campaign that we did. This has ended up in magazines throughout Germany and all through Europe, actually. It's a pretty cool thing, and it got us going. So any monies that we make from the Save the Salt campaign that we're doing goes back to the Save the Salt organization that we are working with. I'm going to run you through some stories about Save the Salt, about the people on the salt, and why it's family out there. And it's a beautiful place. If anybody is ever interested in going here, contact me afterwards. I'd be happy to share everything we know about it. This is the morning salt. It's a sunrise. This crazy-looking individual is one of the volunteers. Everybody dresses up and has fun out there. Nobody gets paid. Everybody comes out and just works. We set up the tracks. These guys do the porta potties. It's like whatever. We set up the pits. Everything is there. There's my wife Linda out there on the salt. She's talking to one of the officials early, expecting what's going to be happening during the day. And what's going to happen right off is the officials are going to tell us where the tracks and everything are. We've got a short track, a medium, and a long track up on the screen now. You can see where the pits are. 30,000 acres is a lot of area. You have to know where you're going because you can get lost out there very easily. And after dark, it's almost impossible to find your way out of there. It's kind of a crazy place. This is when we first meet. These are all of the officials, the racers out there, their pit crews, everybody involved. We get together, you get to say hi to everyone, and it's where the officials lay out the track and tell us what's going to happen for the week. It's a great time. The individual's back you're seeing here, his name is Danny Thompson. He's an icon on the salt. He's a legend. His father was Mickey Thompson. Mickey Thompson formed these race tires in a big company that people still use to this day, and they're actually on Danny's car. Mickey Thompson first came to the salt in 1960, and this is the Challenger 1 with his son Danny Thompson with the Challenger 1. Mickey ran that car. He did 406.6 miles an hour that first run, and then it rained the next day. And remember seeing that nice little lake on top of the salt? That's what happens when it rains. The water doesn't go away. It has to blow away by wind or it has to be evaporated by sun. So that canceled the race. Mickey couldn't make that second pass and put the record into the books. So that was a problem. Mickey took that car and left. He didn't come back again. It was 1968 that he built another car to come out to the salt. And this is the Challenger 2. This is a side version of the Challenger 2. A friend of mine put this together for me. It's 2 engines in this thing. You've got 500 cubic inch engines, 2 of them, one front and one back, powering the front and rear wheels. It puts out 5,000 horsepower. This thing is a sight to see, an incredible, incredible vehicle. This is Danny Thompson with the skin on. This is after he made his first run in 2016. He actually brought that car out there, but before that, I need to get to one thing. Mickey, Danny's father, wanted him to drive this car at some point, and that was back in 1988. Mickey was murdered, as well as Danny's stepmother were murdered in their driveway at their home that year. So Danny put the car away for 15 years. So it was built in 1968. It ran once. 1988, it got put into a garage. 15 years it was in the garage. And about 7 years ago, Danny pulled it out of the garage and had the help of his all-volunteer group of people here. This is his little team. His volunteer group of people. Everybody donates their time. Again, on the salt, there's no money for anybody in this. It's just a matter of doing it for the love of doing it. Danny's wife is standing next to him here, and this is a group of people that's been with him for the last 7 years getting this car out there. What we're seeing here is now the pit. This is where we go in and we work on the car and make sure everything's running properly. Linda and I have special privileges. We're kind of members of these crews, and we're allowed to go in and actually work with the guys. We can be right on the lines and have some fun with them. It's an intense situation, but I want you to actually hear what this car sounds like. We're in Long Beach, California here. We're going to start up both engines on it. Just take a second to listen to this. Nitromethane fuel in the car. It doesn't smell good.
Right. She wants to go fast.
Yeah, he wants to go fast. That's exactly right. He did want to go fast. In 2017, we're out on the salt. Danny wanted to go fast. And this is a little meeting that was happening because that day he blew a rod in that car. And in blowing a rod in that car, we didn't know what had happened to the second engine in the car. But he was talking to the crews and such, and they said, you know, it'll take about 4 days. We can rebuild the engine. It's a whole week-long event. I think we can get it back on the track again. So Linda and I, my wife and I, are talking to Danny's wife, Valerie, and she's got a troubled look on her face. I says, Valerie, what's going on? She goes, I'm really concerned. I said, what are you concerned about? You guys can fix the engine. She goes, yeah, but we don't know if the second engine is bad or not. I said, well, what would happen if the second engine was bad? She goes, well, at 400 miles an hour, if that engine blows, it could kill my husband. And I said, well, what's the debate? Why is he going to run? And she goes, he doesn't want to let his crew down. I'm like, Valerie, we got to talk to Danny. We got to talk to the crew. She goes, you talk to Danny. We talked to Danny. Danny right here is talking to his crew. He's saying, guys, I don't want to let you down, but I think it'd be better if we came back next year and did this. I don't want to inconvenience you, but, and everyone in the crew was like, we absolutely understand. Let's do it next year. So Danny came back the next year. And what we're seeing here is what happens when we go into an inspection after one of the runs. And then we'll get on to 2018 when Danny came back. But this gives you an idea, a little bit of drone action of what happens out there. We actually take the car, you get 4 hours to inspect it, make sure that nothing's going to happen to it, and then you're allowed to have that return run. So this is 2018 after the first run. We've got our tarps down. We don't want to get oil or anything onto the salt. We're very careful about the salt. This is a foundation that we want to keep out there. We want to try and preserve as well as possible considering what's happened to it and such. So it's a pretty intense situation when you see all these volunteers running around on it. Here's the opening scene when we're actually coming out onto the salt with Danny's car. We've got the crew out there. Everybody's making sure that everything is perfect. We've got his crew talking to him. Inspections, Danny's checking everything out. We know what's going to happen with it. Danny's just gotten into the car here. And the fact of the matter is that car is designed around Danny. I can fit into it. But Danny, if he has gained 5 pounds with that suit that he's got on there, he can't get into the car. It's that tight. You are wedged in like this. Your hands are just tight on the steering wheel. It's an incredibly claustrophobic, to me, kind of situation. And it takes a really tough individual to drive a car like this. The man is 68 years old when he's running this thing right now. He can do 50 pull-ups in the morning and goes for his runs every day. He's a very fit individual. At 68, he's crazy fit. This is the push bar in the front of the truck. The truck pushes the car out onto the track. As it gets pushing up, the gearing on the car is such that you can't just turn the key and get the thing running. You've got to actually push it up to a certain speed. So the car is being pushed out here by that push bar in the front of the truck, and you're going to see him take off with it. When the truck releases the car, it's pretty interesting. They're doing 60 to probably 70 or 80 miles an hour here when they release the car. Did I start that? I guess I didn't. Here we go. So the truck is going to start pushing the car here. When they release the car at 60 or 70 miles an hour, are we running there? Yeah, we are. Okay. You'll see Danny pull away, and it's like that truck is standing still. He's got basically 5 miles to go to reach the top speed because the track has been shortened because of the salt being gone. It's been shortened to 8 miles, and he needs that much space to stop. I mean, he's going 400 plus miles an hour. He needs to pull his parachutes. He needs to get this thing stopped at some point, or he's going to go into that quagmire mud situation that we've been looking at. This is a nice little aerial view of what you see going on out there. We've got a couple of tracks that we've cleaned side by side. There may be soft spots, so we're picking the best track possible. If you hit a soft spot, it can be disaster. You can ruin a car. You can kill yourself. So there's Danny. He's actually made his run there. It's great. I want to show you what's inside the cockpit when he's doing this. This is where it takes nerves of steel to run one of these things. So you're going to get a little bit of inside the cockpit action with Danny Thompson running this thing. Yeah, that's how fast he's pulling away. something happens on this run, Danny's going to hit some of that soft salt I was talking about. This is his first shift coming up. See how the steering wheel's staying nice and calm with him right there? Minor corrections. Second shift. He's only going to go, here it goes. He's totally losing control of the car. It's fishing out on him. If he loses control of the car here, the thing is done. They will never bring this car back to Bonneville. Danny powers through this. You could actually hear him on the sides. He was accelerating as this was happening. Most drivers would have just said, forget it. They would have cut the power and ripped the chutes. Danny said, no, I'm not going to let my crew down again. He powered through this thing. You can see the traction lights on the side. This car has lost control. He's got it back under control now. But Danny's the kind of guy, he's a legend, he's a fighter. He's not going to let the salt die. He's our friend, and he works with us to keep this going. This is a big deal. It's hot in that cockpit. He's only been going 5 miles, but he's been gone for maybe 30-some seconds since he's been doing this. He's going to pop that canopy and get out of this car as quickly as possible. With the malfunctions that were just going on out here in the salt, he doesn't know if there's been damage to the car. He's going to move out and get out of the vehicle as fast as he possibly can. Linda and I are approaching the car now. We've actually been listening on the radio.
Mile number 2 at 326.062. Through the 2 1/4 at 372.675. Through mile number 3 at 391.174. Through mile number 4 at 428.582. And through mile number 5 at 450.
450 miles an hour.
This is 446 yesterday.
450 miles an hour. This is a gas-powered vehicle is what we're talking about. 2 500 cubic inch engines. Now I'm going to start talking about a little bit of my photography here. This is an actual shot of the chutes getting pulled on that. I don't like the angle that it's shot from, but it's the only angle that's accessible. We're shooting back into a blank sky, blank nothing. It's a very boring shot to me. So what I like to do in the assembly, and I say assembly, I put my images together. They're pieces and parts. So I know if I were to turn around and shoot in the other direction, I would have this kind of a mountain background and this kind of salt. So we go out another day and I shoot this. It's a panorama shot that I put together. Multiple images sliced together. I go ahead and do that, and I drop in Danny's car from the previous day with the chute pull, and we've got an iconic shot with the background, the way people like to remember what Bonneville looks like. It's the chute pull. It's the real deal, and Danny loves the shot because I'm the only photographer that was able to get from an angle that you weren't allowed to get the photograph. So this is what we do to create interesting images to try and help save the salt here. We get these out there for the public to recognize. This is Danny's crew. You're seeing these people again. This is 7 years these people have been working with him on it. He's getting out of the car. This is an amazing moment right here. It's been 50 years in the making. The gentleman on the left here was actually in his father, Mickey Thompson's pit crew. He's still working with Danny. This is a great time. 50 years ago, that car came out on the salt, and here it is in 2018, setting a land speed record of 248.75 miles an hour. I mean, that's huge. Nobody else has ever done this before. Danny's posing on the salt here. You can see some of the dirt, though, around it. This was all pristine white at one time. Danny's wife coming out to congratulate him. I mean, this is his best friend, Ray, who's also his bodyguard. Everybody. Danny's mom always rides in the push truck. She won't let him go without her there. It's a great moment for everybody. And his wife, they're just laughing. They're having a good time. Again, it's family. We as the press corps and the photographers are family too. We're invited to be out there with them. It's a special invitation, but we want to be there with them and have fun. Danny and myself talking here at the moment. We're trying to decide where we want to put that car out on the salt. I want to get a group shot of all the volunteers with Danny that night. So we get into it a little bit and have some fun. It's my friend Lizzie Liggett in the section in the center there. You're going to see her in some other photographs. She's a photographer from Canada. I've been sharing my knowledge with her and mentoring her for years. She turned into quite a photographer, and her father's on the right side. She'll be modeling for us a little bit later in this series of shots that we do. Lizzie took a picture of Danny and me. Thank you very much. We like that kid. This is one of the final promotional shots that we did for Danny with the car that year. This is the one. This is a Save the Salt campaign poster. It's out there. It's Danny Thompson setting the land speed record in a 50-year-old Challenger 2 built by his father, Mickey Thompson. When we go out to shoot, we invite different photographers out with us. So again, if anybody ever wants to come out and shoot, let me know. We'll get you out there. We invite other cars, they're called rats. These cars are not actually race machines, they're fun vehicles that we get out there and we have a good time with them. We sometimes use them in our photographs. So we shot around the car, had a good time, and we did this little shot for the full group of volunteers. Great group of people, everybody cheering, but it is, again, one of my assembled images. Separate mountains, separate skies, separate salt. We have fun on the salt with people. This ticket that Valerie Thompson is holding in her hand, Danny's wife, is the ticket when Danny first broke that in 2016, the record that his father had set. Danny Thompson's dad, Mickey Thompson, was the first American that ever went over 400 miles an hour. Now, Danny had promised his dad, someday I'll get that in the record books. Danny Thompson's dad wasn't able to do it but one way. Couldn't get the two averages together. So, Danny did it. This was 2016. He beat his father's old record by 1/10 of a mile an hour, but he put his dad's car in the record books. It was a big moment, and it's the most important ticket, the most important piece of paper that Danny owns. Now, I tell you about friends that we meet out there and family and such. This gentleman's name is Fritz Klinger. I didn't know Fritz when I took this shot. I just saw a man praying before he got on his motorcycle. And it was unusual for me to see him. He had a bunch of really bad-looking motorcycle guys. You know, the Hells Angels kind of guys out there behind him. And I was a little intimidated with those guys, but I was like, hey, I like this guy's face. So I got down on a knee and I went to photograph him. And he looks over at me and he goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking your photograph. And he goes, oh. I said, put your head down and pray again. I want to get another shot. And he puts his head down. He looks again at me. He goes, hey, who are you? I said, well, I'm Keith Berr. Pleased to meet you. Who are you? And he goes, well, I'm Fritz Klinger. I said, what are you doing here, Fritz? He goes, I'm going to ride my son's motorcycle. I said, where's your son? Walks me around to the other side of the bike. And I see this welded to the tank on his bike, and it says Richard Klinger on it. I said, what's going on? That's 2 months ago. And he goes, my son died 2 months ago. He goes, I wanted to take my kid for a last ride on his bike. Yeah. Those are the people you meet on the salt. There was a problem with taking his kid for the last ride on his bike, though. The winds were kicking up, and we had 40-mile-an-hour crosswinds. Jill Shannon, the supervisor, basically the person in charge on the track right then, was going to cancel that track day for the rest of the day. So the winds were too dangerous to ride for any speed. Linda pulls Jill over and goes, Jill, he's not going to go for speed. He just wants to take his son for a last ride. And Jill goes, we're breaking the rules for him. Fritz, go. Fritz mounted his bike and took his son for a last ride. Those are the kind of people you meet out there and the kind of stories that happen on the Salt Flats. And these are important stories that we have out there, and they're things that create the family of the people on the salt. And it's one of the reasons why the salt needs to be saved, because these family things they're dear to me. And there's legends out there, and Danny Thompson's one, and this is another guy here. His name is Burt Munro. He happens to be from New Zealand, and he's got a 1920 motorcycle here in Indian. Burt Munro's a pretty famous guy. He's actually the most famous salt guy I've ever, well, not known, but known about. Burt Munro came out here in the 60s, and he's from New Zealand. Like I said, he had a motorcycle that he had built in his own garage, and that wasn't a garage. He lived in a shack in New Zealand. He was very, very poor. And he made his pistons out of melting old Ford parts and thises and that's, and he formed them by himself. And he worked 25 years to make this motorcycle. And then he took all the money he had, and he got on a freighter as a cook, and he came across the United States. He was going to go to Bonneville Speed Week, and he was going to race this motorcycle and set a land speed record. He was determined. He had a lot of hardships, but he got to Bonneville, and he met a few people on the track, and they liked him. They thought Burt was the real deal. Problem was, Burt hadn't pre-registered. He met the people, the people that run the track, and they told him, you can't run. You didn't pre-register. And the official said no. And Burt looked over to his friends. He goes, what am I supposed to do? Can you help me out here? And a couple of the guys went, let's talk to them. So they talked to the officials. And the officials went, we shouldn't do this. And rules are meant to be broken. This guy's the real deal. Give him a chance. This is Salt Flats family. So what happened was the officials decided they were going to let Burt take a test run. They were going to follow behind in their cars, and they were going to see if the old man could handle it. He was 60-some years old on the salt there. They were going to see if the old man could handle it. So they got behind him, and I'm going to step ahead. There was a movie written about Burt. It's called The World's Fastest Indian. It stars Anthony Hopkins. And Roger Donaldson's the director. what I want to do is I want to show you a scene from the world's fastest Indian. It's scene 20. And this scene 20 shows you what the heart and soul of the Bonneville Salt Flats is all about. The officials are giving him a ride. So you're going to see this happen here for real. This is the Bonneville Salt Flats. If you haven't seen the film
listen
before,
up.
get
That's
it.
what we're going to do. Bert, you're going to get rolling.
Right.
Ride slowly along. We'll all jump in our vehicles, follow you down the track. See if you can handle this thing.
I'll handle her all right.
All right, everybody got that?
Yeah. Okay.
I got everybody.
All right. Let's get in the cars.
All right.
I hope the old man doesn't make a fool of himself.
Here we go. Okay. All right, I'm ready. Let's go. Right, pushing. Go on, push it, boy.
$60, $65, $70.
75. There he goes up to 80, 85.
90.
Look at that man go.
He's leaving him behind! What the hell is that old guy up to? Nobody told him he could give it everything.
Well, I guess that solves the question of whether or not he could handle it.
Doing 95 and he left us in the dust.
Look at him go. All right, go, Berr.
All right, grab hold of her. Hold her firm. Got it? Don't let go. That was a disaster.
Hey, Bert. How'd it go?
Not good. So, what's the verdict?
When you opened up there in top gear, you sure left us in the dust.
I couldn't even get it out of second gear, Earl. The plugs were oiling up, so I had to feed us some more juice. You know, up the revs a little.
Well, I guess we'll see if you're telling us the truth, Monroe.
You telling me I can officially run my bike on the track and have it timed?
That's what I'm saying, Bert.
You'll never know what this means to me, Otto. 25 years I've doomed to this day. 25 years.
Well, sometimes you got to bend the rules a little. Today's one of those days.
Thank you, from the bottom of my heart.
That's Burt Munro. That's why it's such a special thing out there. These are the people that just make the world a special place to be in. And this is a special place we need to save. Lee Munro, who I'm standing next to here, is Burt Munro's great nephew. He's a really cool kid. He's from New Zealand too. He's a championship motorcycle racer. And Indian, which is what Burt was riding, has come up with a new bike. It's called the Spirit of Munro. And this boy was sent out there with his team to set records on another Spirit of Munro, his great uncle's motorcycle. And he did. We were out there with a film crew working with them, doing some TV commercials and such, had a great time with them, got to photograph the different motorcycles that we were working with. Different branches of Indian were out there that we got to work with as well. It was a pretty incredible moment. Roger Donaldson, the director for the World's Fastest Indian, that section of what we just watched there, was with us as well, and we were showing some stuff on the Salt Flats one night. We had old footage of Burt Munro actually in New Zealand and back on the Bonneville Salt Flats, and we put Donaldson into a projected image of it, and we were riding the motorcycles through for the TV commercial. It was a lot of fun to work with out there, but again, the people you meet there, we weren't on that film crew to start with, but we were invited while we were out there to work with them and continue doing stuff. It's a great time to be out in the Salt Flats. This fellow's name is Shina Kimura. Yo, let me say that again. Kimura. I got to say it right. He'd smack me for that. Shina's a great guy. He develops motorcycles, builds them by hand. This bike that we're looking at here, he sold to Brad Pitt. He's a Hollywood actor. You've seen Brad in a lot of films. He built 2 of them for Brad this year. But I like Shina's bikes mostly because I like to photograph them. They're pieces of art. And you get out there to start playing with these motorcycles, and you catch the light, and you create these unique images with them. And he's just the nicest guy and fun to work with. Just different people on the Salt. Shina built this bike for another individual, and you've got Jill Shannon, one of the officials, checking the bike. She makes sure everybody is safe before they go out on the Salt. So Jill's checking it out, and it's just another one of Shina's bikes there. Great people. But when you get up to the Salt line, when you get up to the starting line there, a lot of people's nerves get to them a bit. And it's a scary thing when you're looking off into the distance and you're kind of seeing the curvature of the earth there. Well, this gentleman was one of those people that was getting a little too shook up. And Jill, that official that you saw in the previous one with Shina, saw his hand shaking. And she's like, I don't think you're going to be able to run, sir. You're going to have to move the bike off to the side. And Linda and I were there. We'd never met this gentleman, and we said, Jill, what are you going to do? And she goes, well, I mean, Jill talks to us. She goes, if he'd stop shaking his hands, maybe we'd let him run. So Linda, my wife, is a certified yoga instructor, so she said, you know what? Let me talk to the man. So she started talking to him. And 15 minutes later, through different breathing exercises, some low breathing, some rhythmic breathing, she got him to calm down, and his hands were fine. And he got back on that motorcycle, and Jill said, bring him up to the line, and the man took off again. It's part of the Salt family. It's part of the stories that happen out there. Jeff Brock owns this car. This is Bombshell Betty. She's a 1952 Buick Super Riviera. 6-time world record holder on this car. Jeff is an artist as well as a race car driver. Pretty cool car. I mean, you look at the riveting on this car. You look at the vents for the air induction coming in here. It's a designer's car, and it's a photographer's dream. I mean, you're out there. You can capture images everywhere when you're on the Salt. It's great. Jeff and his car are getting ready to go. The Bombshell Betty taking off towards one of the sunsets on the track. This is another one of the images that we've used for the campaign. So Jeff's been a big part of it. But I wanted a different shot of Bombshell Betty, and we're going to get to that in a second. I designed something specific for this campaign. Jeff and myself out on the Salt, and Jeff and his partner out on the Salt. There's something that went with Jeff, and I got to bring this little story before I go into how I built an image that I'm going to show you. Jeff was diagnosed with cancer a couple of years ago, and it was really bad. He didn't have the funding to get medical treatment. So the Salt family, we started a GoFundMe for him. And we raised enough money to pay for his medical treatment. And Jeff's still around today and was supposed to be back on the Salt this year. He didn't quite get it together for it, though, promising he's going to be out there next year. But again, that's what we do. It's family out there. I didn't quite like the previous image you saw before, so I changed lighting on the face, darkened down the rear of the car. I don't like where it's at on the Salt, so I took a series of mountain images that I wanted to put together. I want to create something special here. I put Jeff's car in to get size relationship. We don't like the Salt, so I'm going to change the Salt out. It's going to be something a little different. I shot wide-angle Salt and stripped the images together. Then we're going to finally finish the outline. We put a background in as far as the sky goes, and then we're going to finish the outline and finish with the image and lay our type over afterwards. This is what I wanted to use for the Save the Salt campaign, and it's one of the better images of Jeff. It's something he uses for, well, a lot of his personal things. Anyway, back on to Jeff. We've got another one of his Bombshell Bettys out there and a couple of other cars. I mean, the cars out there are magnificent. They're all pieces of art. Anybody that wants to go out there, you should have a great time. Actually, for Jeff this year, in commemoration to Bombshell Betty and how many years he's been doing this and the cancer treatment and such, we thought we'd put his car on the front of the press badges. So big honor for Jeff, and especially when he found out it was on there and he wasn't, but that's the way it goes. Kind of wild. There are so many images for photographers. So what I'm just going to breeze through here are some of the different kinds of cars that come out there. You never know what you're going to see. You never know the type of car or the motorcycle or anything. These are all works of love people put these things together, they set land speed records, and again, all you get's that little piece of paper in your hand. But some of these are images that I'll be using in the future for more of my Save the Salt campaign. The people are characters, there's textures and colors everywhere you look, and it's ongoing. You've got women riding motorcycles, guys riding motorcycles, trikes. When was the last time you saw a trike like this? Probably never. It's fun. It's energizing. It's just, you want to get out there. Once you leave, you want to get back again. When you're there, it's so hot, you're going, oh, but I can't leave. I love it too much. It's a beautiful place to be. Linda and I have special privileges. We get on the salt further than most people are allowed. The people that run the event understand that Lynn and I never sit down. We are up and moving. We aren't going to get hit by some pieces of cars flying off. The really important people out here are the officials. And I keep talking about my buddy Jill Shannon. She's one of the officials. She's one of the heads. This is my buddy Buddy. These people make you safe out there. They're out there with the vehicles. They're making sure everything is checked out and everything is going to run right. Without these people, we don't have the Salt Flats. They are volunteers again. They're standing out there for 12 hours a day in the sun, not able to leave, making sure everything is going to work right. You're out there with them, you're going to know these people. And when you know these people, you're going to be able to get the photos that we do on the salt. It's a great time with them. Now this is Jill. She's setting off this yellow car. I really wanted to get this yellow car on the salt for one of the campaign images, so I did. Went ahead and shot again, some more mountains. Went ahead and changed the salt out. Didn't like that salt. Went ahead for some different salt again. Keep compositing. Adding in the vehicle there, going in for one sky. Nah, I didn't like that sky. Let's go in for another one. Wasn't quite where I wanted to go yet either. And another one. I've got stockpiles of these things. I keep shooting. Darken it down a little bit, and we've got an image for the campaign. And it keeps going. These are more images of vehicles and people that I'm hitting on next year. The energy on the salt just keeps going, going, going. The faces, the characters, everybody out there. Textures, light, colors. This car, it's heading to the book next year. This is a good buddy of mine. His name is Tyler. He runs a company called Lowbrow. Now, Lowbrow builds motorcycles, customs. He has got some of the best bikes out in the world. He is a big 6'4" guy. He gets on this little itty-bitty Triumph out here that he's riding, and he crouches into that thing, and you see how aerodynamic he gets. He's going to be in one of my campaigns shortly. But he also builds for another buddy of mine. This guy's name is Alp. He's a German friend. This bike, they're pouring in nitromethane out of a milk jug. I mean, that's scary fuel. You can't imagine. That stuff is volatile as can be. That's what they run on. Well, I like Alp on this bike, but I don't really want to use Alp on this bike. I want to use his wife, Shaquila, standing to the right there. So I say, Alp, after this run, bring the bike back. I know it's going to be a record setter. We'll get Shaquila on it. I got a quick shot that I want to take of her. Jill's setting him off out there. Alp gets his bike, gets it rolling. He's on the track, and he's out there. Cool bike. Shaquila's a cool girl. Love the hat and the earrings. I wanted somebody on the bike to represent a woman riding a motorcycle out there that wasn't in full leathers and such. Just a little bit different so that we can keep the campaign going, make people seeing it, bringing the awareness out there. So we go ahead and shoot Shaquila. We shoot her right there in the compound before we get onto the track. So all I have to do is get her up on it, get her feet up and ready. That's all I need. It's bounce light everywhere. It's going to be an easy shot to play with. We go ahead and path her out, and we drop her onto some salt. We go ahead and add another series of mountains I've photographed. Easy. We're going to throw in some clouds. I'm making it look easy. It's a little bit more work than that. Anyway, we keep darkening the clouds. I want to get a little more mood, a little more atmosphere, chunk it up a little bit, and then we go for it. I got it about where I like it, and here we go. We add in our type, and we've got another campaign piece here. Shaquila working it. Now this is Alp. This is her husband. I like this shot a lot, except Alp's foot is still on the ground. He hasn't been pushed out far enough. Shaquila's pushing with another team member. I don't like the mountains being there. I want to use some different mountains. I want to use a different shot of Alp. Here's the shot with his foot up. It works. I want the team back in there, so I'm going to put that into the shot, kind of showing you how we do it, just roughly in there. I'm going to drop in the team behind them. There we go. We got them pushing them. We're going to take the rest of it out. Okay, we got it out. Good. We're going to start adding a sky in there. I like the sky, but it's not gutsy enough. It's too blue. I want to make it warmer. I want it punchy. Bang, we go ahead and do it. There we go. The image is out in the booth here. Take a look at them. Beautiful print jobs by the people here. Thank you so much. Part of the campaign again. We keep rolling with them. Somebody takes pictures of me every now and then on the salt. It's crazy. Speaking of crazy, there's some German people here. This was a yellow school bus when they got it. They came into the United States. They were there for 3 months. They wanted to spend a week at the Bonneville Salt Flats, and they showed up during Speed Week. I wanted to get a shot of them having some fun out there. It's a family-oriented place, too. Outline them a little bit. There we go. I like these mountains better. We're going to drop them in there. A little bit different. I want a different sky working in there, different salt. Dropping it together. We've got it. Another part of the ad campaign. I keep rolling with these different things. A lot of people think I take the individual images and that's one shot. They're not. They're totally composited, thought out in advance, put it together after the fact. Match your lighting and you can do it. So here's my girlfriend Lizzie. She's a gal from Canada, the Canadian girl that we've been teaching to shoot since she was like 17. We've got her in the car now. I like the shot of Lizzie, but I don't like the light on her face, and I want to have more area around her. So we can do that. I'll go ahead and strip in a different face with Lizzie. We brought in different lights, and we go ahead and lit her face there. Fine, we worked on it like that. I want to have this different background in for us, so we do that. Different salt, different background. We can do that. I shot this sky from our rooftop in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's a great sky. And all I got to do is add that in here. And now we've got an image. Looks like a singular shot? Not at all. Total photo compositing. Sorry, I'm not that guy that shoots straight. Not for this stuff anyways. This is advertising. We keep on going. This is when we figure out where we're going to shoot at night. Some of my friends that I invite out, we go out onto the salt and find a place we want to shoot. So the mountains are closer and such, and we'll see what kind of salt we've got to work with. This is my friend Dorothy and Linda, and Gunther is in the car. He's going for his 200-mile-an-hour license. I'm working with a team called the Kraut Brothers. I love shooting the faces out there. I shoot people. Most of my life, I'm photographing people. This is my buddy Helmut. He likes designing cool things on cars. He paints cars. He does all kinds of things. He builds the engine. But with the salt and the type and everything going on, you've got graphic images everywhere you go. This is Kraut Power, the car. This is his brother Willie. Now, Willie's looking off into the distance because he doesn't believe that Gunther's going to drive this car and not wreck it. Anyway, Gunther drives it and gets his 200-mile-an-hour license that day, and he's using this crazy Chevrolet engine setup on the car. The car is fast, about 230, 240. It's an interesting car. They're checking the tire pressure. You've got to have everything perfect before you go on the salt or you've got problems. Now, I want to build an image for this. This is just Gunther riding on the salt for one shot, but I want to build an image, and we actually did have a breakdown on the car. And this, we'd watch the chutes get pulled, and the car broke down, and we pushed it off the track. Now, my buddy Gunther, I was talking about him again. He's a photographer, and he likes to stand in my shots. I don't like him in there, so I get rid of him. That's easy stuff. We get rid of Gunther. Now I want a better sky than what I've got here. You know, it's kind of a flat image, but we can do something with this. I photographed this sky earlier in the morning. It's going to work. It's the same kind of soft light, easy to do. We're going to put a little path, just showing you roughly about what we're going to do there. We're going to drop the sky in with the people there. It works. It's good. It's not punchy enough. And I've got another buddy in there with a green vest. I don't want the green vest, and I want it punched up. We can do that. And there we go. We're punched up, and we've got another image for the campaign. We keep running through them. These guys here are more individuals on the salt that I've shot, and they will be in the campaign. It's just working them through slowly. We keep rolling these out, getting the public recognition. The campaign images that we've been shooting, and you're going to see even a few more of these things, the rats, the race cars. It's just more and more vehicles, more and more vehicles. The campaign images that we shoot have been winning national competitions in the United States. This is advertising competitions. We exhibit these things, we show them out there, and we have a good time with it. When we exhibit these things for the advertising campaigns, it's a pretty interesting thing. They're going through different cities and different states and then back on to nationals. In doing that, we gain the recognition and we get more funding for the Save the Salt organization, which is why we're doing this in the first place. Now, this is my friend Lizzie again. I'm going to show you how we build another image. Probably one of the last images of building. Lizzie, I like the shot. It was too flat though, and I like the mountains here, and I like the sun cascading through. It's a cool thing. So I'm going to drop Lizzie in there. I want a more panoramic kind of a shot for this thing to happen. I want it to see more salt. I want you to see what we're trying to save. We're going to add a little more salt in here, add a little more salt in here. The light and everything's working pretty good. It needs to be punched up, and we need to add our type. And there we go. We've got another image for the campaign. Lizzie works with another image here. We asked these guys if we could get this car out there. They just wanted a photograph with her and them as a team. That's the team. Now I'm working with Lizzie's father here. That's Jim laying in the salt down there. We're going to take a shot. I like the image of Lizzie, but you can see the sky is bland. The mountains are not good. It's just like Lizzie and the car are great. The light's what we're looking for. That's what I'm going for. I go ahead. I've got more skies, more salt, more mountains. I drop it in. We've got a winner for the campaign. This was an award winner last year in our National Advertising Agency award shows. This is Gunther, first part of the campaign. It's run in a number of German publications. I already told you that. Again, we've got Alp running here. We've got Lizzie again. All part of the campaign. This campaign is ongoing. We keep running with it. When it comes down to it, this campaign is what we've been doing to raise the money to save the salt, and we are actually having it happen. The government and the state are responding. This intrepid company is pumping the salt, the waste back onto the salt flats. In pumping the waste back onto the salt flats, we've actually seen some salt come back. We're reconstituting it. More research, more dollars being spent, we will get it back. And that's my theory. I want it there for the kids to enjoy in the future. And being photographers, we're empowered to be able to do things like this, representing our images to do this kind of a thing. Now there's Danny Thompson. Danny Thompson is actually retiring the Challenger 2 after fulfilling his dad's wish to set that car's records and put it in the land speed record book. He's done it. He and his wife Valerie are stepping away. 69 years old now. I sent this image to them over to them as a thank you. Danny being retired and such, he's looking for a place to put his car. He doesn't know where to put it. He's got museums offering it to him. He's got people in private collections wanting to have his car. So it's open for whoever would like to have a car like this in their collection. It's an open car. If you know of anybody, contact me. I'll put you in touch with Danny. He's great people, and he is helping to save the salt flats with us. Now, Linda and myself, there's one thing about us out there. I want to express this. Everything that we do in saving the salt flats, the project that we work on, we pay for our own airfare going out there every year. We pay for our hotels. We pay for our food. We don't take a dime from anybody. The only money that we take gets donated back to the Save the Salt organization. So this is a passionate project for myself. I like to instill in kids today that they can do something too. So whenever I talk to people, I want to say, if you're a photographer, you can do something to change the world, to make it a better place. Pick your passion, get out there, make it a drive, and make it happen. It can be done, and we're living proof of it. We're actually making it happen. So if anybody would like to come over to our booth, we've got the Save the Salt organization up there. You can contribute directly here. You can go to my website. And as far as I want to go to the booth, I want to thank everybody at Exposure for donating the print costs and everything in that booth right there. And I'm going to tell you this, anybody that were to buy a print, 100% of any money that you spend on a print in that booth goes to the Save the Salt organization. There's not a dime going anywhere else. His Royal Highness has done that. Thank you so much. It is being donated on their end. We're donating our end. So this is the Save the Salt. I want to thank everybody here for being here today, and I appreciate us being invited to share this with you. Have a good day.